Well, it is Wednesday, September 28th, and that means we are just a couple days away from the start of the annual Balloon Fiesta. You're seeing some of the file video here now, but this year we are expecting, by all indications, this to be a bigger year than maybe a lot of the other fiestas in the past by comparison. It is the 50th Balloon Fiesta here this year. Brazil. And we are just very excited here to bring you a discussion live today from the KRQE News 13 digital studio with Tom Garrity, who joins us here. Tom being the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta spokesman for a long time now. Tom, thanks for being here.
You bet. Great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, Chris.
You're very welcome. And again, I mentioned just it's exciting to be able to get this opportunity to talk to you because this is a discussion where we hope no holds barred in some sense, right? It is. It's a chance for us to just talk about everything, anything surrounding the 50th Balloon Fiesta. So we appreciate having you here. Again, if you've never maybe joined us for any of these discussions on KRQE.com, we like to do these sort of live, online, exclusive conversations. Tom, notably, you were the first guest to come in here from the digital studio as well.
Wow.
So thank you.
You're welcome. I feel honored. Thank you. And now I feel I have to really up my game.
Yeah, well, that's what we expect here online. It's the nature of the internet. Up your game. So let's go. Let's talk a little bit more about what is happening this year. First of all, I also actually want to tell viewers, if you've got a question, let us know. We do want to, as well, accept kind of any questions you've got out there. So you can see the messages on your screen. Got a question, let us know. You can tweet at us at Chris McKee TV. I'm on Twitter, and then Tom as well at Tom_Garrity. I'm sure, Tom, you probably got your notifications turned on and can see when people have something to say. Okay. So yeah, I mentioned you've been a long-time spokesperson for the Balloon Fiesta, but I wanted to first start off with that question. How did you get involved? When did you start? How did you get involved in this?
Back when I was a wee little lad. You know, I first started as a reporter and producer with KOAT TV, and I came into the market from another place. And my very first assignment was to cover the Balloon Fiesta.
Okay.
And so I did that for about 3 years, and then I moved over with to what is now Visit Albuquerque, and headed up their communications department. And I said, hey, what are we doing with those folks up north of us that are flying all these balloons? And they kind of shrugged their shoulders, and they said, oh, they kind of do their thing, we do ours. So I went up and I talked to a person who became a very good friend named Jody Baugh.
Okay.
And Jody and I became fast friends, and she says, hey, can you go ahead and take care of all the media? I just want to do sponsors. And so that's how it all kind of started. And that was back in 1994.
Wow, 94. Yeah. So you've been doing this for quite some time now. What is that, nearly 20 years for you?
It's actually all total of about 18. There was a 4 or 5 year span in there where we transitioned out for a time. Kathy Leyendecker took over as communications lead, and then we had an opportunity to come back in. So, but yeah, and during the time that we were out, we were actually working specifically with the Balloon Museum. So we've always been involved with ballooning in some form or fashion. Very fortunate to be working with Balloon Fiesta.
Right on. Well, and I just wanted to note, it looks like we had a slight audio issue, but I hope it's corrected. My B-roll was a little bit loud. We couldn't hear it, but you guys certainly could. So sorry about that. Should be fixed here now. So nearly 20 years for you, but it's about 18 total. What has been maybe the most exciting thing for you going into this 50th Fiesta, knowing that, you know, this is such a landmark event for you?
Well, you know, for the entire event, you know, because we have a volunteer board of directors, 24 volunteers who are really kind of contributing to the event in many different ways. There's full-time staff of about 18, and then our team at the Garrity Group. For us, this is really a victory lap, if you will, because, you know, with basically a year plus of preparing for the 50th event, we're ready to get balloons in the air.
Wow.
Because, you know, so I think specifically, what are we looking looking for, or what I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to the mass ascensions. I'm looking forward to the Albuquerque box setting up, and just literally walking out the front door of the media tent, looking up and watching balloons kind of percolate over me.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what, and of course there's the special shapes. I mean, everybody loves the shapes, and
Right.
yeah.
That's cool. Well, to basically start off with maybe our conversation about what to expect in this 50th Balloon Fiesta, let's get to some of these quick facts that I outlined here on a graphic. 648 pilots is the expectation this year. Over 20 countries. I know it's been kind of hovering between 21, 22 maybe, and you kind of just have to wait and see how things shake out, as I understand. 118 special shapes, 20 of them being new. About 83 RC balloons, and we can get a little bit more into those RC balloons here soon because they're going to be part of something special on Sunday. Then, of course, the event, it goes from Friday, September 30th, all the way through October 9th. Notably, September 30th, though, is, of course, the big Albuquerque Aloft Day, which is mostly an exclusive event for kids. But this year's Friday, there is an element of public nature to Fiesta's events, right? So let's start with Friday. What happens Friday special? This is a 50th anniversary sort of
Yeah, Chris,
new thing.
One of the great things about Albuquerque Aloft Day is that we have a lot of fantastic participation from about 80 to 88 schools with the Albuquerque Public Schools and the Rio Rancho Public Schools. And in addition to that, in addition to balloons launching all over the Albuquerque metropolitan area, we're actually going to be able to have balloons launching from the Coronado Center, just as they did back 50 years ago.
Right.
And so we're really looking forward to that. And it's going to be kind of a special event. There will be a private event inside that starts about 5:30, 6 o'clock, where we'll have a chance to sit down and celebrate with some of the folks who were there that very first weekend. And then everybody's moving outside for a public event where we're going to have 13 balloons. And yes, spoiler alert, there will be actually a balloon launching for the first time that has never been seen before.
Oh, cool.
And so we're excited to see that take to the skies. But there'll be 13, each of the 13 flying for one of the original balloons.
Very cool.
Yeah, and Gene Dennis actually is one of the pilots who flew originally, and his son is actually going to be flying Friday morning for his father in that tribute launch.
Wow. So that's, I wanted to put up a little bit of this
the old field
history video here. That audio popped through just for a moment here as well. But this is just some historical video we've got of one of the, some of the first balloon fiestas. You can tell by the 4x3 video that is there. Certainly not what we see anymore. That standard definition video, but you can just tell this was not, of course, the first year, what you're seeing in a lot of these images, but eventually some of the early years really taking off there with
Looks
Fiesta.
like 3/4 inch tape, actually.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure where this came from, besides the archives of KRQE. And some of this video as well is courtesy of New Mexico PBS. You mentioned the 13, and I just wanted to put a quick plug out there for something that we have done here on our website, on KRQE.com. And I'll throw this up here online so you can get a look at what exactly I'm referring to. So this is a article Scott Brown, our one of our digital reporters here on KRQE.com. He published this, Who Were the Original 13 Fiesta Pilots? It's a great article with a look back with some of these historical photos, as well as profiles of each of the 13 Fiesta pilots. We just published this online just recently. I believe it was actually today. This went live here today. So a cool background piece that you can check out there as well. So a lot of the folks who were part of that original 13, it is those who have been essentially connected to the original 13 that are going to be a part of Friday's event there at the Coronado Center.
Yeah, it's and those images that you were showing earlier from 1972 were fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was watching, the Balloon Museum just opened up a brand new exhibit called Canopy of Color, and in it they have two different sets of videos. Which actually, go into more of a longer form of all the kind of fun things that happen at Balloon Fiesta with the pilots, but also that historical first flight of Balloon Fiesta. And what made it really kind of fun for me is that, I always thought that everything always looked like the way that it did. but there are dirt lots out there.
Right. Right. Dirt
and I'm
lots.
like going, wow, this used to be pretty rugged out here.
Yeah, I was looking back in one of those news stories as well. I think there was a graphic in there. I actually clipped it out of the video here, but there was a graphic in there. It was very, very 80s, and it said new launch site, and it's now what Balloon Fiesta Park has been. So obviously has been the dedicated launch site for the Fiesta for quite some time. And that, of course, is where things will start to kick off on Friday as well. Or, sorry, Saturday with the crowds. Saturday.
And, as we, kind of think about all the different places that Balloon Fiesta has been over the years, of course, that first year it was over at the Coronado Center. And then the very next year, it moved over to the State Fairgrounds. And it was there for a little bit. And then it moved up to Sims Field, which is pretty much between Montano and Osuna and Jefferson. Just think of that particular area. And then it moved up to Cutter Field and then the old Balloon Fiesta Park until, I think it was, 1996 that everybody moved out to the new Balloon Fiesta Park. And there was no grass out there at that point, no turf. It was all dirt. And so, whenever it would rain, we would always kind of cringe a bit and going, oh, it's just going to be a muddy one out there today.
Absolutely. Gosh, I can't imagine dealing with that. So it's those are the maybe perhaps the big things, but feel like little things that are in terms of the complexity of the event there that you're glad that you can rely on as having grass out there. But it certainly takes a lot of work to maintain that throughout the year. I know the city of Albuquerque, of course, it is their park, and they do a lot of work on that park as well, and we can talk about a little bit of some of those things that have occurred around the park. I do want to get, though, to Saturday in this case, and so Saturday's events, that's kind of the opening day at Balloon Fiesta Park for this 50th. Some of the things that I'm thinking we'll see, the 648 pilots, I know that it was mentioned, I believe, by Sam Parks, and he had said in this news conference earlier this week that is a lot more pilots than you guys have had, maybe even in some of the more recent years. The expectation here is going to be that this is going to be a big day on Saturday, weather permitting, of course.
Absolutely, always weather permitting.
Right.
Sam Parks is the Director of Operations for the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. He's also the longest serving Balloon Meister for the event. And the Balloon Meister, just to bring everybody up to speed, because it's been a year since we've really used that term, is the person who really coordinates all the launch directors on the field and coordinates the launch off of Balloon Fiesta Park. So what's going to make this year unique is the 648 invited pilots.
Yeah.
And that's going to end up reflecting on the field of having about 4 balloons per launch square.
Wow.
And so it'll still be 2 waves. It'll just be a little bit crowded, a little bit more coordination for the launch directors as we get all the balloons laid out and then inflated and up into the air. But typically I think the right size is probably about what we've seen in previous years, about 500, 550, or 505, if you will.
Yeah.
It'll be a fun, it'll be a crowded day, but it'll be a good day of flying.
So Saturday, big day with a lot of pilots potentially taking off, weather permitting, as we had mentioned. There's also the launch of the gas balloon challenge, as I understand, that takes off on Saturday. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, okay. It's the actually 25th America's Challenge Gas Balloon Race. We have 8 different pilot teams, including the Eimers family. And the Eimers are the ones who actually just won the global championship, which is called the Gordon Bennett Cup. Okay. And they flew the farthest distance in Europe.
Wow. So that'll be something to look forward to Saturday. Starting at the early part of the day, right, the opening ceremonies. I remember in years past, there's kind of been that moment of a sort of candlestick burn where, the balloons aren't up or inflated yet, really, but it's a chance where you can see some of the video on the center of your screen there for the baskets to really just shoot that propane flame up there into the air. That's going to be a part, I know, of Saturday's sort of opening festivities. What else can people look forward to Saturday? Are there any surprises? And maybe you can let us know what those
Oh,
are?
there
or
are
maybe
always
not?
surprises. Yeah. I cannot. I'm, as Barry Goldwater once said, I'm not a good leaker. But no, let's talk about the morning events that are going to be taking place.
Yeah.
Saturday morning, 5:45, there's going to be a special aerial performance in the northwest part of the field.
Okay.
That's all I can say. But it's a good reason to get to Balloon Fiesta Park early because of this aerial performance.
Okay.
And then we'll go into the normal run-of-the-mill as far as with the pilot briefing. The Dawn Patrol is going to be fantastic. The Krispy Kreme Morning Glow with 13 balloons, because we always like a baker's dozen, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then
Absolutely.
with the opening ceremonies, we're going to have the national anthem. And as the national anthem concludes, we're going to have a flyover by the Chile flight, as they've done in previous years. And then that will be followed, as you described, the candlelight glow.
Cool.
And so we'll have about, I'd say, 200 to 300 balloons all doing a candlestick glow, rather. And just, having a lot of fun and a lot of people cheering. And then we'll go ahead and get started with actually the first 13 balloons that will launch off of the field, the same 13 that will launch on Friday. And then the rest of the balloons will take shape and follow accordingly.
Right on. Okay. So Saturday opening day should be a good one. People should be there for that 50th opening day there, 50th event opening day. Let's talk a little bit about Sunday as well, because I know Sunday is a day that stood out to me for the possible, world record setting moments that might be occurring on Sunday as well. I know there was a talk earlier in the news conference this week about a couple different things. One of them, I mentioned the RC balloons. RC balloons are going to be a big component here of this year's event. So can you just first of all tell us, before we get into that world record part of it,
Sure.
What are these RC balloons?
So the Fiesta de los Globitos is the name of the actual event, where RC, or remote control balloons, think of a quarter scale size of a hot air balloon. So we're literally looking at these small hot air balloons, fully operational, that stand about 12 to 15 feet tall.
Okay.
And they have their own little burners. They have their own little basket. The operators, not pilots, the operators have these tethered, and they will be launching them up into the sky. And so that's what the RC balloons are. And there are going to be RC balloons will actually be available and for everybody to see on October 2nd, October 5th, and then the 7th. And then a special return performance on the 8th as a part of the glow.
Yes.
So that's going to be really exciting as well, because we've never seen RC balloons glow at Balloon Fiesta. So it'll be really exciting to see that. And of course, a part of that too is we're going to attempt to set a new world record.
Yes.
The current world record is something like 55 or something like that.
And these are 55 all floating at the same time, right?
Correct. But instead, we're going to actually have 83 all launching and in the air at the same time. And so we hope with that we'll be able to get all the paperwork in to claim a new world record. At this point, that would be the second world record if we're successful. And then there's a third that we're also trying to do as well.
Okay.
And that's for the world's largest balloon glow. And
yes.
So the world's largest balloon glow right now is about 140. And that record is being held by a group out in the Middle East. I believe it's in Dubai.
Okay.
And they do a great job of flying balloons out there, but we really want to establish, hey, you know what, 142 is nice, but 200 is much better. And so we'll have a couple of different opportunities to set that new world record. First will be on Saturday night, October 1st, and then the next opportunity will be October 2nd. And since we always know that sometimes the wind and weather happens, if for some reason, odd reason, that we're not able to get things off the ground, so to speak, then we have that following weekend to get all that stuff out as well.
Okay. So, and yes, we saw a little bit of video there in the center screen as well of previously some of those RC balloons. Our own Carlos Sosa did a story about that. That's on KRQE.com. If it hasn't already been put on there, it should be on there shortly. And then, of course, you're getting a look at some of just one of these really successful glows that have happened here in the past. So, Sunday, a few world record attempts, at least two 2. It sounds like perhaps several more might be set. We'll have to see.
We're looking forward to it.
Very cool. Well, one of the other things, opening weekend, very great. Wanted to be able to talk about as well some of the new elements that we're seeing for Fiesta this year. So we've got this graphic we'll put up on screen here as well. And essentially what you're seeing here is a bullet points of some of the things. I wrote transporter takeover just because I feel like it's so akin to Transformers, so I can't help myself in putting that. These are not Transformers, though. We can talk a little bit more about those. I have one of the pictures up of these, but these, let's just go by these one by one, and we'll start with the transporters. Tom, this is, I guess, a relatively simple thing, but it means, you know, a big difference to the guests getting around Fiesta Park, right?
Yeah. You know, we're going to have more of them. So these replace the trolleys that we've had in previous years. And, you know, so we had 4 of those. We'll have at least 6 of these that will be touring around Balloon Fiesta Park. It's kind of like Disneyland or Astroworld or where, you know, like some of the amusement parks. And it's just fun to, you know, kind of everybody jumps in and it gets you from point A to point B really fast.
Very cool. So these as well, they replaced they replaced those, what are they called? The trolley cars, as you had mentioned. Those things were, you know, much bigger, probably louder, and, you know,
a lot more maintenance, quite frankly.
Okay, so more maintenance. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know what? Balloon Fiesta was able to sell those and get them out to some other cities and locations that wanted to be able to, you know, use the trolleys. So you know, we're happy that their legacy is going to continue somewhere else.
Very cool. So that is among one of the things. Part of the graphic here as well that you're kind of seeing now at the bottom of your screen has to do with the parking lot changes. And so just going back, though, to this graphic here, he mentioned these parking lot changes. There's a connection here to Looney Tunes, so hopefully getting people to find parking spaces a little bit easier, right?
Absolutely. You know, Looney Tunes are prevalent even at the very first Balloon Fiesta with Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner. Their images were featured prominently on hot air balloons that were flying in that very first event in 1972. And so that really started off a long-term relationship with Looney Tunes and the Chuck Jones group to use Looney Tune characters around Balloon Fiesta Park. So when our guests arrive at their destination, they'll notice Looney Tune characters, you know, whether it be Elmer Fudd, Roadrunner, Granny, or Tweety Bird. You know, all of these images will be high for everybody to see, and they'll also have some QR codes.
I see. So and I did pull one of your graphics from online at the Balloon Fiesta website here. You can just get a little bit of a look. It's a little blurry there, but you can get a look at some of the names of the parking lot. That one, that's the gray one at the very top.
It's Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny. Yeah. You've got Porky Pig down there. Yosemite Sam is over there. That's kind of the that starts to get into the areas where the vendors and folks sort of set up. It appears. Let me move that graphic down just a little bit.
So Chris, since you've been kind enough to have me on, I want to give you an exclusive.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, I can't go into too much detail, but I will tell you that once Balloon Fiesta starts up here in just a couple of days, because we're recording this on Wednesday, right. There will actually be an increased presence of Looney Tune or Chuck Jones characters out at Balloon Fiesta this year. Oh. We are going to have a number of virtual reality caricatures around the park, and we're going to have signs. So basically people can use their phone and either integrate it into an app or just on their own phone to take a picture with Yosemite Sam, Wile E. Coyote,
some of their favorites.
And the folks at Chuck Jones Studios have done a fantastic job. We got a sneak preview yesterday, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun for folks.
Very cool. Well, that's great. And that'll be a cool interactive thing. I know there's so many new additions that you guys try to go for each year to sort of increase the technological connection that is there between the Fiesta out in the field and now what everybody carries with them, their cell phones. So,
That's right.
One other thing to note about some of the new additions that people will start to see out there this year. One of the big ones being skyboxes. This is kind of a premium, though, as well. It's not necessarily something that everybody can just sort of run over and hop on a skybox, right? But can you tell us about what these skyboxes are? We'll put up a couple photos of them up here.
You bet,
well.
yeah. So the Skybox is an experience that's available to guests. It is a premium, so it's they rent the entire facility. I believe that Balloon Fiesta is charging has $5,000 for this particular opportunity, which includes breakfast, includes a number of different passes, includes drinks, and an exclusive area where you can actually experience the Balloon Fiesta at the north end of the park. At the south end, we typically know these as something like Corporate Row, where all the sponsor hospitality tents are. Well, this is a different kind of experience at the north end of the park, and you really get to that prime seating. To see everything from Darth Vader and Yoda to the fireworks shows. So really a first-time opportunity, and it's we hope that it's popular.
Yeah, and it's a really cool thing to see the shipping containers get used in just another different way. I know Albuquerque has a Green Jeans pharmacy, or farmery, excuse me, not pharmacy, farmery up there at I-40 in Carlisle. They were some of the first to really use shopping carts or shipping containers in a different way, and you guys are getting in on the mix here as well. So that's neat to see. I think one of the last things to mention on this the sort of new element list is just a brief mention for those biking to Balloon Fiesta Park. The city got some new equipment, essentially, to help fix up the North Diversion Channel Trail. So it should ideally be a smoother ride along that bike path, and that's a pretty neat way for people to get there and really beat the traffic too.
It really is. My oldest daughter enjoys riding her bike all over Albuquerque, and so she and some friends on opening day are going to park in the Journal Center area and ride their bikes up the North Diversion Channel.
There you go.
It's a really easy bridge to get across the arroyo, and then into the bike valet, where they can leave their bikes free of charge, and then all they need to do is just buy a ticket, or have a ticket rather, and then just go in through the gate and enjoy the event. When they come out, they have their claim check for their bike, and they're able to ride back home.
Yeah.
So it's really it's a nice way to avoid the traffic, that's for sure.
Certainly, and it's also a good way to keep warm as you're getting to the Fiesta. I know sometimes that cold air can really sink in. If you get that blood flowing early in the morning, it's a good way to stay warm too. So yes. There's that. One other element I added on this graphic here: Music Fiesta is back this year. Cole Swindell. I'm not a country music fan myself, but he's sorry.
Really?
Yeah, no, really? It's not my vibe, but that's okay. A lot of people like it. Cole Swindell. She Had Me at Heads, Carolina. That's obviously a big hit that people have heard quite a bit on the radio over this year. He's with Lainey Wilson. There's also another act performing there in Music Fiesta. Is that a cool one to see brought back, and especially with a pretty well-known artist?
Yeah, it sure is. Music Fiesta is going to include, as you mentioned, Cole Swindell, Lainey Wilson?
Yes, Lainey Wilson, yeah. I have down here as well.
And then Restless Road, I think, is the opening act. And, Lainey has received 9 CMA nominations. And so, but wow. Bringing back the Music Fiesta to Balloon Fiesta is, along with the Balloon Discovery Center, is really fantastic because, we weren't able to do them in previous years. This is the first time since post-COVID that we'll be able to bring these 2 events out. And they're growing in a lot of popularity.
Wow. No, that's cool. That's cool to see. And this, by all accounts, is kind of what we were talking about. This seemingly is the chance to do an event that's been bigger than many of the others in the years that have preceded this. So a big return to form for the 50th Fiesta is what it
Most
sounds
definitely.
Like. One other thing, I should say, a couple things that I combined 2 phrases there. A couple things to let people know about. If you're looking for maps and directions, this is a good website to get to. balloonfiesta.com /maps-directions there. And it wouldn't be the news without us doing a little bit of self-promotion here as well. KRQE.com /balloonfiesta is a great place to go for all of your news-related elements related to Fiesta. We're posting daily coverage there. If you download the KRQE News app, we will give you the update every morning about whether or not the balloons are flying, whether there's a delay, whether it's all clear, green flag is up. download that app, and you can subscribe to the alert categories of the KRQE News app. There's a Balloon Fiesta alert category. We send out alerts to that every morning. So a lot of resources online. And I know there's even just a lot of stuff that, Tom, we haven't necessarily even talked about here. We only covered really so far Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but you've got that full slate of events that Monday through the next Sunday as well. If you could give me a few highlights of what people should expect as the days go on through Balloon Fiesta through the week.
You bet. Everybody likes to focus on the first weekend because of the mass ascensions and the glows and the gas balloon race. A lot of excitement. Starting Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of Balloon Fiesta is when the competition events start on Monday and Tuesday. Those are only morning events where half of the balloons launch from the field, and those who are competing in the day's competitions fly in off the field.
Okay.
Really exciting. Definitely the lowest pressure days that we have as far as guests go. So if you want to go out and enjoy the event, Monday, Tuesday, a great time to do that if crowds are not your thing.
For sure.
And then on Wednesday, we have the Flight of the Nations, which we will be featuring 21 balloons. Unfortunately, Ukraine was not able to join us this year with, due to their current situations, but they were invited.
Certainly.
And so we'll have the Flight of the Nations midweek mass ascension, where we will launch probably about 400 to 500 hot air balloons midweek. And then on Thursday is our special shapes days. I mean, we have shapes there throughout the event, but on Thursday of Balloon Fiesta, everybody looks forward to the shapes inflating, and then we'll have competition coming in as balloons fly into the field. That will happen both Thursday and Friday morning. And then Thursday evening is our special shape balloon glow. Friday evening is a regular balloon glow, which will also include special shapes. And then we're also going to have on Saturday, the second Saturday, mass ascension, music fiesta, balloon glow, fireworks, special aerial show each session. It'll be a fun time.
Wow. Tom, this is a lot to look forward to. I can imagine there will be surprises along the way. I know you had forecasted there's that aerial show, but there's not much more you can say about that. That'll happen on Saturday the first time, and then it'll replay, as I understand, as well.
That is correct.
A few other times to see that.
That is correct.
Is there going to be any opportunities to channel anyone's love for Top Gun this summer, fall season, and see a flyover perhaps of jets or anything like that?
Well, we'll see a flyover of the Chile flight, most definitely.
Right.
We know that the Air Force is also celebrating its 75th anniversary this year, as Balloon Fiesta is celebrating its 50th anniversary. So, don't be surprised if you don't see some U.S. Air Force aircraft participating in some form or fashion.
Very cool. Well, Balloon Fiesta is one of the coolest aerial shows around, and it has been around now for 50 years. Pretty incredible to see, just when you go back and look at that historical footage that we were talking about earlier. It's just so cool to go back and see what this event has actually evolved into. It's a remarkable feat that takes a lot of work to put together. So, Tom, we appreciate you joining us here online on KRQE.com. Any final thing you would let people know ahead of this year's event?
The first day is always first day, so there will always be traffic as we all try and get used to, getting into Balloon Fiesta Park. We're excited that the city of Albuquerque has opened up a new ramp, so getting out of Balloon Fiesta Park will be a lot quicker than in the past. But what I would suggest is, if people are still thinking about how to get to Balloon Fiesta on that first day, I would definitely suggest Park and Ride is number one. Number two would be the bike valet. And so those would be the two ways to kind of just miss all the traffic. Yeah. But then last but not least, because I was out for a run this morning, and it was pretty cool outside.
Yeah.
So I think just dress in layers. Mm-hmm. Remember that while it might be 57 degrees on the field in the morning, by the time the sun comes up, it could be about 75, 80 degrees.
And if people want to, de-layer at the park a little bit, encouraged to stay throughout the day. There's obviously a lot of stuff to do at Fiesta.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of bag should they bring?
You can bring any bags that you want to. In fact, that's a good reminder that, you know, if people want to come in and they want to bring a cart with all of their food and stuff, that's great. You're more than welcome to do so. Just know that it will have to go through a security checkpoint, because we will be having, you know, magnetometers, you know, metal detectors, and everything will be subject to search.
Okay. Okay. Tom, Garrity, thank you so much for joining us here in the KRQE News 13 Digital Studio. We appreciate you giving us the rundown about what you need to know for Balloon Fiesta. And for those of you who maybe have popped in and seen a little bit of this as it's gone on, we're going to clip the video here. It'll live online, so you can go back. Feel free to replay it. There's a way to access this again. We'll leave it up here as the days go on into Fiesta, and all, you know, 100, 200, 300, 400,000 people end up showing up to the park. Who knows how much it'll be this year, but it promises to be obviously a very big fiesta. Tom, thanks again. We appreciate you joining us online. And to our viewers, thank you very much. We hope you have a good rest of your day and get out there to Fiesta this year.